Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Say here, and as you can see, we have a guest appearance on the channel here today. We got the Lego legend himself, Drippybricks, aka Jermaine.
Wow.
Now, before I even bring him in, for those of you guys that don't know who Jermaine is, he is also somebody who builds Lego Transformers in the Lego Transformer community. He's got a YouTube channel that has over 5,000 subscribers, has made an appearance on the hit show Lego Masters U.S.A, and has also built and sold massive Lego display structures. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So Jermaine, how old were you when you first started building with Lego?
I would probably say like maybe one and a half. I got pictures of me crawling around as a baby with Duplo blocks, so whatever age tummy time happens.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's really interesting though, because that means from a young age you were able to really get that foundation on how to construct things mentally in your head. So I want to ask you this next. What did you start building when you first started building at such a young age? Because for me, I was building everything. I was building boats, cars, trucks, planes. So what did you start out with?
I'm pretty sure I started with like the stuff that the bucket suggested, like maybe little cars and, like you said, planes, maybe little houses. But my earliest memories were, like I was a huge fan of He-Man and Ninja Turtles. So I probably started building like swords and shields and stuff like that in the beginning.
Okay, cool. So what was your most difficult build then?
That would probably be the hardest one. It might be the coin that I have in the museum in DC. It's a 6.5-foot coin, 500 pounds of Lego. And we got commissioned to do it, and there was some big money involved, and I was scared to death because I did not know how to sit there and support that much Lego in a perfect circle. So it was like a real sink or swim type of situation, and I had my boy do like a frame out of wood to kind of support the structure on the inside. But it's 2.5 weeks of straight building, 3 months of planning, and not 1 second did I have the confidence that it was going to work or not. So I'm sure it shaved a couple of years off the end of my life right there, just in pure stress.
So I'm wondering, how did you even get it to hold, like at the end? Was the wood in there permanently, or was that just to test out the stability as you were building it? Or did you find some other way to actually get the thing to hold together in the end?
Oh no, I mean, we had the wooden frame, which is pretty much like, how could I say? It's kind of like, I'm going to use my phone as an example. Like you have a beam going this way, one in the middle, and one on this side, and then the same thing this way, but just like in a cross. And we adhered that to like a base with wheels and everything. And we just started building the coin from the ground up. And about maybe after the first 6 inches or so, start crazy gluing everything. So I spent nearly $1,000 in crazy glue on Amazon.
Wow. And that's crazy. I actually forgot they do that. They actually do that in Legoland as well. They super glue all the pieces together because the structures have to be there for so long, so they can't be open to the elements like the rain and the wind and stuff. So they super glue them together so that they can hold together as long as possible.
Oh.
Okay, so now I think it's about time we get into the big questions. How did you get on Lego Masters? Because I do YouTube, and personally, I wouldn't know the first thing about how to get on TV, much less get on TV being able to build things out of Lego. So what was the process that you went through to even get on the show?
It's a lot easier than you would think. So they announced that they were bringing Lego Masters to the US during San Diego Comic-Con 2019. And this was probably, I feel like it had to be like in the springtime or so. And my boy Mel, who I met at a Lego convention back in 2017, he saw the announcement because it was on with Beyond the Brick. They did a live thing where they were launching the website so you could hurry up and apply. And as soon as they launched it, he applied for the both of us. And I believe it was on a Sunday. It had to be a Sunday because I was at work, and he called me. He was like, look, they just announced Lego Masters. I put all the information that I know about you. All you have to do is click the link I send you and fill in the parts that I don't know. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm sitting there on the ride home like, do I want to be on TV doing this? Like, this is like real competitive. It's hardcore. Like, but I was like, you know what? I think I'm pretty good. Like, we should be able to handle it. So I get home, fill everything out, and by like Tuesday, they email us saying, oh, hey, we had the casting director reaching out to you. Are you available at this time and this date for a Zoom call? So at that point, I was like, yeah, like, I think I took my Zoom call in the bathroom at my job. So, they just wanted us on there to see what our chemistry was like. See like a little banter back and forth, just to see if you have like, I guess, TV quality. They kind of they've already kind of done their research and to see like what level of skill do you have when it comes to building. And we did 3 Zoom interviews, and that all happened within like maybe the course of a month. And then it was like, all right, well, you're going to move on to phase 2. That was phase 1, just doing the Zoom interviews. And phase 2, I had to, because I was living in New York at the time, and I had to drive down here to Maryland to build for about 3 to 4 hours, film myself building with Mel. So that, they gave us a topic of what we had to build, but we couldn't look at the topic until we were both together ready to build. So I decided to come down to him because, one, he had a whole garage, just for his Lego room, and he has exponentially way more Lego than me. So I was like, all right, well, I know we ain't going to make it building off of my few buckets right here. We got to go with your tubs and all that. So get down there and, we build for a few hours, and they asked us to like build something that represents us, or like, to come up with a creative story, because it's very important in Lego Masters to have a story with your build. Super important. So came up with something crazy. Like, we had something where we kind of did like a superhero story where this little boy went and got superpowers from eating a Popeye's chicken sandwich. Huh? We had like different scenarios of his life before he ate the sandwich and then after, and now he's like doing all these superhero things, and it was like tiered in like 4 layers of the story. And I was like, this is silly. They're going to laugh at us, and they're going to reject this, and but we submitted it, and about like a couple of weeks later, they said they loved it, and we move on to round 3, where now they're going to fly us out to LA to build in front of their cameras. So we get out there, and that had to be like towards the beginning of October 2019.
But hold up, that was still just a phase though when they flew you out, right? Like, that wasn't the actual show yet. They were just flying you out just to see how the synergy was with you and your partner. And then pretty much if you didn't make it past that part, they would send you back home?
No, that wasn't the show yet. This was just like the final parts of tryouts.
Oh, wow. So that means money really wasn't an issue for them if they could just fly you out willy-nilly like that just to see if you guys have synergy.
I mean, they got to make sure that, this stuff is quality, that you could follow, that you could understand the assignment. And they want to see all that banter and chemistry with your partner turned up all the way, super exaggerated. Still be you, but be a very exaggerated version of you, like over the top. But it had to feel organic. It had to feel natural. So, it would be so weird because it's like, like we're both very like chill, low energy people, and I'm not the type to be talking all the time, like like Lego Masters made me the way I am now, like just to ramble and not to like really think too much about what I'm saying, but just to like, just to get it out. But so they got us out there, and they're like, all right, once again, you got to build something that represents you. So, like he's more the idea guy. Me, I overthink things too much and I'll never get anything done. But once you give me the idea, my brain is like, all right, this is how we execute it. So he said, all right, we're going to build a big 2-foot apple with a piece cut out of it, like a quarter cut out of it. And we're going to have the George Washington Bridge coming over into the city and do a whole little cityscape inside of this apple. We can make that happen. And then we're sitting there building, and we're focused because we see there's some heavy competition in this room. They had to have like 30 to 50 teams in this giant conference room. and you got the cameras going around looking to check everything. And then the casting manager's like, we need to see you guys like fight a little bit more, like slap the bricks out of his hands. And I'm like, what? Why am I slapping the bricks out of my dude's hand? Like that sounds crazy. It's like, we got to get something. So,
Yo, but hold up. Was that Will that was saying to do that? Because you know how he's always joking around and messing with people and stuff. Was that him that gave you guys that idea?
Meet Will yet? You don't meet Will until you're filming the first episode. Yeah, like at that point, he wasn't the executive producer yet. He became executive producer for the second season and on.
Okay.
So, there's still everything is ran through the casting management and Endemol Shine and all of that. So, like we're sitting there like looking crazy weird. Like he'll like I'll build like a column of 2x4s and then he'll just sit there and just pop it out of my hand and I'm like, hey, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, look, we're just gonna keep our normal synergy. You're from Jersey, I'm from New York. Let's just be extra of that. Like if we gotta be hood, so be it. That's what they're gonna get on TV. So they're like, like, yo, bro, like, why you messing this up? And da-da-da, like, I told you do this. And the camera started eating that up. So later on, like, in that same whole scene right there, they, it's like, all right, we're going to have you guys break off to do an interview in the other room. And, like, they didn't, like, really tell us what we were doing. They're just like, oh, we're going to meet with you in the other room. And we're like, oh, damn, they're about to kick us off now. Like, we did something wrong. And they sat us down. It was like, look, you guys are in. So we just got to go through the motions of everything and you're on. I was like, oh, man, I'm like looking at all the competition and I'm like, it's a lot of guys in here. Like, and y'all picked us. Cool. But they said that, they liked our chemistry and they try to coin us as the Key and Peele of Lego. Really? That's the angle, Key and Peele? Like, all right.
Yo, they went down that route. Okay.
They went down that route. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we're thinking like we're the only black dudes that they got to even apply to this. So it's like, all right, I guess that was our end. Like they needed people of color to help balance everything out. They're real big on representation now. So that's what we're going for. So it's like, all right, that's our key, then so be it. So that was at the beginning of October, and now end of October, we have like literally like less than 4 weeks to get our affairs in order because we're going to be gone for 2 months. So 31st or 30th, we started shooting the first season.
So the next thing I want to ask you is, do you feel like they gave you a realistic amount of time to actually complete the structures? Because they tasked you guys with building these gigantic and massive things out of Lego. And, we're watching on TV and it says 10 hours, but we're not actually there 10 hours building like you guys. They speed it up and then, in 5 minutes, we see 1 hour left. So do you feel like the amount of time they gave you was enough?
There were maybe, because I was there for about maybe like 6 or 7 episodes. There was maybe 2 episodes where everybody was really struggling with their builds. And what they would do, they would just like kind of like cut the cameras off for a couple of hours and give us like a couple of hours to try to figure things out and catch up. Because like, say for example, if the challenge was like 12 hours, they're looking at us 6 hours in and they're like, nobody has anything on their tables. Everybody's looking confused and stressed out because we were burnt out. We were like filming back to back to back. And to film under that type of pressure, it takes a toll on you. So, after a while, it was like, all right, let's help these guys out. Let's give them a couple of hours to figure it out and then pick it up as if nothing ever happened.
Okay, now for the audience here, I want to say 10 hours, even 12 hours sounds like a really long increment of time. But when you're building with Lego, bro, that 12 hours flies by like nothing, especially if you're building some complex structures. For those of you guys that know me, Lego say I build Lego Transformers and I easily spend 30 to 40 hours on a single build, sometimes up to 100 hours. So it's really crazy thinking that Drippybricks here had to build these insanely complex structures in such a short amount of time. Even though they gave him a little extra time, it's just something to keep in mind. Now for the next question, I want to ask you, what was the level of difficulty of the structures that you were tasked to build? If you had to number it from 1 to 10.
1 out of 10 of the stuff I was building on the show, I would probably, honestly, I would rate all of them a 10
Mm.
because it's like, like when you build something day after day, as you can see, like we build Lego Transformers. I do this all day. If it was a show about building Transformers, I would have won that 100,000 with no problems at all. Blindfolded with one hand behind my back. But
Okay. I hear that. I hear that.
everything that I built on that show was sink or swim. It was like, the first episode we had to build, what was it, an amusement park. I never did that before. I never really used motors or anything like that. I didn't have any prep time for that. So it was like,
Mhm.
either you're going to make it or you're not. I had to build
Mhm.
a giant, 100-pound octopus holding a guitar. You don't see any octopuses here on my shelf. I never built that before, Now, ironically, the one episode that I did prepare for at home that, because we're thinking like they're kind of mirroring off of Australia a little bit. There should be a few episodes that kind of mirror each other. They're going to have us build a bridge. And that's the only one that I prepared for at home.
Mhm.
I sat there and built a bridge structure in my living room that was able to hold 300 pounds by itself. And I'm like, I'm going to
Wow.
put 2 of these in the bridge if they ask us to build it on the show. And then
Mhm.
I got eliminated on that very episode. So it's like everything was extremely hard. But I think the hardest part, like one, you have to know yourself. You have to know what your limits, you have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. But then you also have to know your strengths and weaknesses of your partner and learn how to balance for each other. Like if he's detail orientated and I'm structurally, orientated, then I'll build the structure. You do the details for the story and everything. So like you have to know how to balance each other out. If you're both good at the same thing and weak at the same thing, you are going to fail quickly.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So, as you were building these bridges, were you allowed to use Lego Technic pieces? And just real quick for the audience, for those of you guys that don't know what Lego Technic is, it's somewhat of a derivative of Lego. So, it's not the normal brick and plate pieces that you see advertised in Lego commercials on TV. Lego Technic utilizes somewhat of a pin insertion system to connect the pieces together. And this is really good for creating extremely strong bonds that can withstand a lot of weight. And because of that, they're really good for reinforcing large structures that have a lot of pieces. So yeah, BX, were you allowed to use those?
We were allowed to use Technic, but being that we were the first season, we were like the guinea pigs. So they did not know how much of what we needed to make the episode, the season successful. So they were very responsive with, if we're at the end of an episode and we're like, yo, we need at least twice as many of these pieces, they'll do their best to make sure that we get them as soon as possible, but they might not pop up for a couple of episodes. So once they mention bridge, everybody who's still there are like Technic. And we're like, we have to figure out a way to be able to make a strong bridge using as little Technic as possible because we might not be able to get our hands on any. You have to read every team, see what their building style is, and get an idea of what they're going to do so that way you can try to get an edge over them.
Okay, so do you think everybody was at the same level experience-wise? Because when you went on the show, you had to build like dragons, amusement parks, sea monsters, cities, town halls, all that. But like me and you, we pretty much only build Lego Transformers, and other people, they kind of stick to one thing. So was everybody in that same or experiencing that same struggle where they were like, okay, I have to build this thing I've never built before. Like, where do I even start?
Oh, no, a majority of us were like at least 80% were like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but like maybe 2 or 3 teams out of our season, they came up building Lego things that were geared for the show. They grew up building, like creating sets and doing gears and motion and creating stories and stuff like that. So you could see that throughout the season, like the stronger teams, like they came up doing that, like from a kid and probably never had any dark ages or anything like that. So they were like Lego gladiators, basically.
Yeah, because I build Lego Transformers, but bro, if you ask me build a boat or a spaceship, it's been so long since I built anything other than a Transformer or a mech, I would kind of just be like, But you know what? That makes me want to ask you, what even got you into Lego? Because I remember at the beginning of the interview, you said you started out when you were really young, like pretty much a toddler. But what physically got you interested in Lego? Like, were there just Lego bricks from another set laying around and you started playing with them and building stuff? Or was your first toy ever a Lego set? Like, what's the story on that?
Well, my father was real big on things that exercised your creativity, imagination, and I wish that like he was still around so I could kind of ask him like personally, like why Lego, But I think it was just so that whenever I wanted a toy, because I wanted every toy in that Toys R Us catalog every year, it was like, all right, well, I could get you Lego and you could build whatever toy you want. If you want an action figure, build the action figure. You want to train, train. So that way I would always have all the toys that I wanted by building Lego.
That's actually crazy because I have somewhat of a similar story. So my mom, she could afford to buy me toys, but for some reason I didn't really want to ask her to buy me action figures. So I asked her to buy me Legos and then I would just build the toys that I wanted out of Legos. But speaking of building toys out of Legos, the follow-up question I have for that is, how long did it take you to build Lego Transformers?
Well, I dabbled with it, I guess before my dark ages. And like I always loved Transformers, but when I was younger, like in my single digit ages or in my early teens, like they didn't really have a lot of pieces for like joints and hips and stuff like that. Everything was like either Technic based or they might have like some simple hinge plates. But so I was only able to kind of explore that but so far, but I still had one of my Transformers from back then when I, started playing with them again. But I started going hard once, I think it was like around 2009. My job didn't have like a whole lot of work for me, so I kind of spent a lot of time just on the internet looking up stuff. And, I discovered YouTube and I watched so many Lego things on there, but I was like, let me Google Lego Transformers and see if anybody's ever done that. And then I found Boys with the Most Toys. And his stuff blew my mind. And he had so many models. Like I probably binge watched his whole channel while I was at work. And I'm looking at this, I was like, yo, this is so dope because it like really represents the actual figures, but it's like updated because they have a little more articulation and stuff. So that's what really like opened my mind to that. And then once he mentioned that he sells the instructions on his website, I was like, oh, okay, that'll be pretty cool. But the thing that really put me onto it hardcore, like at the time I was working on music. I was like done recording my album. I was trying to get some money together to start doing videos and stuff. So at that time I was feeding everything off of my overtime from work. And then they said, all right, no more overtime. It's over for y'all. So I'm like, I didn't want somebody else to tell me that I couldn't keep getting money. So I was like, I need to do something to where I could control my own money. And I was like, all right, well, people are selling their instructions for Lego builds online and selling them by the boatloads. I could do this. All I got to do is try to get some type of following on YouTube, build a website, and then I could use all that money to pump back into my music. But that's what really got me like hardcore into building Transformers again.
All right, cool, man. Yo, Drippybricks, I want to thank you for allowing me to film you during this interview. Like I said, guys, check out his YouTube channel, his Instagram page, Professional Lego Artist. I'll leave his links in the description.